Hello, greetings. Welcome to Dividend Blasters. This is our 104th video. Our topic today, BTCI turns Bitcoin volatility into a steady income distribution stream. I'm intrigued by this ETF. They are managed by Neos Investments. And I'll just say at the get-go, I don't own this ETF, but I own a couple of other ETFs managed by Neos. SPYI and QQQI, and I'm satisfied with them. They do a really good job of generating great returns with really no NAV erosion. What I am intrigued about here is an ETF that gives you exposure to an alternative asset and allows you to get decent upside as well as a high monthly distribution with no NAV erosion, from what I can see. Let's get into it. First, a disclaimer. What I say is not financial advice. This video is for information and education. It reflects my own opinions, research, and experience as an independent investor for more than 30 years. So do your own research and due diligence before making any major financial investment decisions. So what I want to talk about here is I want to share with you information about this income-based, Bitcoin-focused ETF. That, in my judgment, generates a superior total return without NAV erosion. They have an options overlay strategy. They have to generate that superior return. And they generate and distribute these premiums monthly to investors in their ETF. A little summary information. They were launched in October of 2024. They are managed by Neos Investment Management. Domiciled in the good old US of A, they invest in currency markets through derivatives in Bitcoin. That's very important. They do not invest directly in Bitcoin. They invest basically in Bitcoin-based ETFs. And you've heard of some of the others, IBIT by BlackRock, iShares. Van Eck is one, and they may rotate them, but those are the bigger ones in the Bitcoin-focused ETF market. Those ones that they invest in do not pay a distribution. They are totally dependent on price movements. What I like about this one here, for a couple of reasons, is you are going to get some upside. You won't get as much upside here with this one as you would with those ones that are directly investing in Bitcoin, but they have this one has much less volatility. The price movements are much more gentle, and you will get a decent monthly distribution. So that's what I like. So if if you're like one of these people that says, hey, I don't understand Bitcoin. I don't want to put my money into it. I don't even want to invest directly in an ETF that holds Bitcoin. I get that. I don't agree with that. I actually hold Bitcoin directly, but I get that, and that's perfectly reasonable. This here is an alternative to take some of the Bitcoin volatility and dampen it with this income-based ETF and generate or receive the distributions monthly, which are very decent. So I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. Let's keep going. So when I invest in an income-based ETF or a covered call-based ETF, I really need to understand the option strategy. These ETFs that pay superior distributions, they have to have an options overlay. Otherwise, they can't do it. And definitely, this one here has to do that. Um, so, what are their holdings here? BTCI invests primarily in spot Bitcoin ETFs and UST bills. They do it for collateral and liquidity. How does the options overlay strategy work? They're writing call options on an index. It's the CBOE Bitcoin US ETF Index, or the CBTX. So like I said, they don't own Bitcoin directly. They own the ETFs, and they write the options on this index. They sell call options, and you notice I'm saying call options. I'm not saying covered calls because they don't own Bitcoin. They're selling call options with strikes outside of the money. That's how they're doing this. So they're looking at the index, they're seeing what the price is of the index, and they're selling options outside of the money. Why do they do that? They want to give you opportunity to get upside. Okay, we don't want, you know how I am with the videos I've been sharing with you. I'm not crazy about um, income-based ETFs that sell options at the money or in the money. There's too great a risk of assignment, the shares being sold, and the missing of upside. Here, these guys are selling. They're holding the ETFs and they're selling options out of the money and giving you potential upside. Now, you will not get the same upside here that you're getting in these index Bitcoin based ETFs, but those are more volatile. But here you will get a distribution. So, like I said, this is gentler and you're going to get that monthly distribution. All right, let's keep moving. What are the goals of their strategy? Income generation. They're selling call options, which are distributed monthly to shareholders, and they're superior to a lot of income based ETFs that I've seen that do not have NAV erosion. They aim for high tax efficient distribution yields that far exceed standard Bitcoin exposure. That's because there's less volatility. There's a balance with total return. The fund balance is maximizing income with potential for capital appreciation. So, as I said, there's going to be capital appreciation. It's not going to be as much as you would see with the index based ETFs that are Bitcoin focused, but you will get upside and you're going to get a really decent monthly distribution. Risk management. The overlay strategy lessens Bitcoin risk without eliminating upside. So, as I said, if you are, reluctant to invest directly in Bitcoin or even in an ETF that invests directly in Bitcoin, this could be the alternative for you. Here's a little bit of pricing information on BTCI. They closed today a little under $60 a share. Expense ratio is 0.98% or 98 basis points. So for every $10,000 you invest, you pay $98 a year. You'll get your distribution monthly. So right now, dollarized, the distribution is about $15.39. It's going to fluctuate monthly, just depending on how their option strategy goes, the success of it. The distribution yield for the last 12 months, 25.21%. So as I mentioned, dollarized, that's about $15.39 per share. Pretty good. So assets here, 732.83 million. Not bad. Neos, I got to tell you, I think they are pretty innovative. I like Neos. I like Goldman Sachs. I like these guys because they're giving you exposure to Bitcoin indirectly, and you're getting a distribution. I like Goldman Sachs because of their options overlay strategy. I think that's very innovative. I'll say this here: the assets under management, in the ETF space, they're not huge, but I think they're a gem, and I think you ought to take a look at them. And now, again, I do not own BTCI yet. I have direct exposure to Bitcoin. But I'm intrigued by this because I like that income component here that's available, and there is some upside. So I also really think that yield is pretty cool, 25.21%. But then the question is, what's the total return? I'm going to get to that because remember our little rule, we basically like to see a total return greater than the distribution yield. So I've already kind of covered this, but let's just do it quick. A word about their holdings. They do not invest directly in Bitcoin. It's indirect. And they invest in spot Bitcoin ETFs. Like I said, iShares IBIT by BlackRock and also VanEck Bitcoin ETF called HODL. They have an options overlay strategy. They sell call options. And there is an example of one of their call options, CBTX US 101725 C2540. Again, it's not a covered call. They don't own Bitcoin. It's a call option on an index. Over half of the portfolio was invested in U.S. Treasury bills. These provide collateral and stability for option trade and liquidity needs. They do not hold a spot Bitcoin directly. So here are their holdings. Again, more than half are in government securities. And then they have about 25% in other, which are, likely the Bitcoin, the spot Bitcoin. Look at the top 10 holds, and then they have cash. But UST bills, 54%, Van Eck, Bitcoin ETF. And then the next handful are the call options, and then treasuries, and then more options, and then government securities. And that's about, 95% of their holdings right there. So again, the distribution yield, 25.21% for the last 12 months. And again, is it going to be that every month? No, but it's on average. It's going to fluctuate. $15.39 on a trending 12-month basis. So monthly, that's about $1.42, and it's a monthly distribution. And here is just it graphically. You can see that they average about $1.40, $1.50 a month. And it's going to go up and down a little bit because that's basically how it is with an income-based ETF. Here are the monthly distributions since October of 2024, and they have gone up. They started around $1.12, and then they went to $1.40, then $1.45, then $1.57, then down a little bit. So they're going to go up and down a little bit, but hey, that's a pretty healthy distribution. I do like what I see. So what is the total return? We know the yield is about 25%. The total return for BTCI for the last 12 months is 57%. It is significantly greater than the distribution yield. I do like what I see. Now, I got to tell you that a lot of this, I think, they're capitalizing on the volatility. And it's very bullish right now with Bitcoin. But it goes down. It goes up and down. It was, just, a little bit of context. It's around 113, I think it's 112 or $113,000 per coin. It had gone up as high as 122. So it is very volatile. But I would say since, last December, early January, it's been a rocket ship. And in this bullish environment, this ETF will do very well. You're going to get some upside, and you're also going to get a decent distribution. Now, if it craters, that could be a different story. They may need to change their strategy. But right now, it's all very, very good. Total return, 57%. And here you can just look at what the price return has been. So just price return of BTCI by itself is outpacing the S&P 500, about 21% versus 17%. So folks, that is it in a nutshell. And before we close, just a friendly reminder as an affiliate partner seeking alpha, I can offer a subscriber discount to the premium subscription, which includes a 7-day free trial and $30 discount. Alpha Picks, which will be about $50 off from the regular subscriber price. You can see the link here as well as the QR code. And then the bundle, which is a little bit of both, $159 discount. I subscribe on both. I love the up-to-date price quotes of stocks and ETFs, as well as the really insightful analysis that I get from Premium. And I've been a long-time subscriber to Premium. I like Alpha Picks because I get 2 new stock picks every month, which absolutely kill the S&P 500. A little bit more detail here. You can read the bullets. And again, the links are here. You go right to the links, click on the QR code, and you can read all about the discounted offers. And if you're interested in more insightful dividend and investment content, check us out on X, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Folks, that is it. I hope you consider giving us a like, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this video with a friend. And hit that notification bell so the next time a video comes out, you will know immediately. Have a wonderful day. God bless.